Hello and welcome back to Brilliant Fools. I am Adam Green, and let's do a little bit of Q&A today in light of the theme this week, which is respect. Always give respect, always earn respect, and never demand respect. Um, let's look at things through the eyes of other people, right? Through the eyes of those that we're dealing with. Uh, Jesus said, the way you want to be treated, treat others in that way, right? Philippians chapter 2, verse 3 says, do nothing from selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility count others as more significant than yourselves. Um, that's a great reminder for me. Great reminder for me, for sure. So let's jump into this and let's start asking these questions that come up throughout the life cycle of our businesses, right? Um, One is, and this is interesting in light of that, of what we just said. Should I raise prices? Okay, especially given things like inflation, rising product costs, things like that, rising cost of providing services or products or anything like that. Should I raise prices? It can kind of seem like no, I shouldn't, because I don't want prices raised on me. So if I'm going to treat others in the same way, then, I shouldn't raise prices either. That could be the case, but not necessarily, because I think I'm thinking if someone gives me a good quality service or product, I'm willing to pay for that. I want value more than I do just low cost. Low cost is great, but I really want value, and I want the other person to be paid for that. Um, I want them. The worker is worthy of its wages, right? Don't muzzle the ox um, while it's plowing. So I want others to experience good things the way that I've been blessed and I experience good things. So should I raise prices? First of all, the basic question to ask is, am I making any money? Am I making a gross profit even? And if it's costing me more to provide the service than it is that I'm charging, then I should raise prices. If the market will not bear that, can I lower my costs and still keep the quality of the product that I want to put my name on? The quality of the product that I believe is deserved, not deserved, but that I believe other people should have, that I want them to have in order to serve them well. Those are the questions really I would ask in order to know, do I need to raise prices? There's potential. I might need to raise prices. I might need to raise prices in order to pay the right people enough money to keep them with me so that we can continue to give a good service. So it's a good question to ask. Uh, there are times though where the answer may be, not only do I not need to raise prices, I need to lower them, or I can lower them. I can provide more value for what I'm giving with a lower price. A lot of things that I can see being that way would be like subscription type services. I could continue to add more to that service and potentially even lower a price. Software can be that way. Once you've developed the software, uh, you're just making money on it, on every piece of software that goes out, every app, every etc. However, uh, if you're going to have continuing development costs, then you're going to want to raise prices, right? Or maybe not raise prices, but you may not be able to afford to lower the prices in order to give people the quality that they need. So for me, I'm going to look at it as quality over quantity, because that's what I value when I'm looking at something. Do I need to raise prices? What price point, at what price point can I give people the quality, long-term quality that I want them to have? That's going to be the question. Um, Speaking of that, are there tools that are affordable that will help me to keep up with bigger players in the industry? I was watching something the other day of someone who's doing woodworking projects and they have all these massive industrial equipment type tools, which would be awesome to get, right? But you're talking about $500,000 sometimes for these tools, 100, 200, 500K tools. You have to have enough volume to justify that. And that can lower the cost for each piece, right? Now, I can't compete on that, but what I can potentially do is add value in other areas if I'm making smaller woodworking pieces, right? Or I might be able to pay someone who has something like that, who has the bigger resources. I can pay them a little bit to rent out their equipment. Just kind of as a way to think about it. It's a way to innovate that maybe isn't always thought about, is that I can rent out these things sometimes. I can approach it from a different perspective than just I have to do it on my own. If there's anything you can do that is not just on your own, I think every time that's helpful and that's going to help you out. So if there's any way to not just depend on other people, but help other people out in the process, that's great. That's a wonderful thing. So one of the problems with that, though, is sometimes, especially if you're an entrepreneur, like if you're a business owner, but especially an entrepreneurial business owner, there can be way too many good ideas, right? So how do I establish the time or the framework to prioritize those ideas? How do I prioritize those ideas? And I think one of the biggest methods for me to prioritize it well is that Eisenhower matrix. So the Eisenhower matrix has four different slots, right? You've got your urgent and important tasks. You've got a lot of different things. So separate your ideas into that as well, urgent and important. There are certain things that have to be done now, immediately, and those are your urgent things. If they're important and they're urgent, then do them. Just get them done, right? If it's important, or if it's urgent but not important, that's when you should delegate and have someone else do it. And then if it is not important and not urgent, don't even worry about it. Just set it to the side. A lot of ideas fall into that category when I'm really honest with myself and I look at it, I'm like, you know what? This could be a great idea. It's really not that important, though. It's just it's nice. It's a nice idea to think about, but it's not important, definitely not urgent. I can just kind of let that die. Most of your ideas that should be implemented fall in that fourth portion of the window, though, and that is the important but not urgent. So in other words, what can happen is it's something that I should implement and I should start getting it done, and I should figure out how to set this idea in motion, but it's not so urgent right now. So I don't prioritize it and I don't put it up there. Well, that's when I just need to schedule out the time and just get it done. And I can think of 2 or 3 projects on my to-do list right now that I just need to schedule out that time and get it done, because the potential of them is so much, it's so high. Like the potential return on investment for them could be ridiculously high. So I just need to schedule it out and get it done. It's not urgent. There's nothing urgent about it. Now I can try to create that sense of urgency in my mind, but if you're like me and you try to lie to yourself, eventually you'll know it's a lie, and then you'll find excuses to not do it. So just schedule it is a good idea. Another way to understand that, if you don't know and you're still having a difficulty identifying what's important, what's not important, what's urgent, what's not urgent, et cetera, find somebody. Find someone to talk to. This is another question too. Who do I talk to? Who can be a trusted business advisor? I'm going to say first and foremost, make sure they agree and align with your values. In this case, if you are a Christian business owner, a Christ-centered owner, okay? Not just a Christian, but you are Christ-centered, like truly trying to follow him, love him, have that relationship with him, abide in him. Make sure your advisors are also on that same line of thought. You can get a lot of good practical advice from people who aren't Christ-centered, but you're going to have to filter that every time. Your trusted advisors, the one that are going to work most closely with you. If you pick someone like me, who is a business consultant with you, make sure the values are aligned. And yes, for sure, in keeping Christ central as a basic priority, don't be unequally yoked. But also make sure that I understand what your values are. And that's what I'm going to do in the discovery process, the interview process. Make sure that I understand what your values are, what you are trying to accomplish, what you believe God has called you to in your business, and that we can work together towards that same thing. Does that make sense? And then that'll help to clarify your ideas as well. A friend of mine calls it it's the perspective side of thing. Your perspective, your overall vision is going to help clarify those ideas and what ideas are proper to attempt to implement. Your pastor can also be a very good one to get with, especially one who is trained in counseling, because they're going to be able to look at what's going on. And counseling is not just I have some sort of mental instability or relationship problems in my life. They can help you with just working through the thought process and going through that almost a step-by-step kind of process, like really breaking it down into what you should be looking at, but looking at it from a proper perspective as well, a biblical perspective. So think about that, and think about who you can contact, who you can bring in to be that trusted advisor. So another question is, okay, what if I have conflicts between my family members and business partners? Again, that, especially if your family members are working in the business, they have their ideas. Determine who's going to make that final say, who's going to make the final decision. There needs to be a CEO somehow in that company. You can, ideally the CEO is Christ, and you defer to him and you work through it in prayer every time. But then there will be times when two people still aren't on the same page. If you've been in church long enough, you've seen this happen in churches as well. And sometimes it just doesn't work out, but hopefully, I think every situation can be salvaged, but sometimes it's not. And we even saw this you look in Acts with the early missionaries that are going out, Paul and Barnabas and Mark and John and Peter, all these different people. There are conflicts that happen between people, and there are times that they separated. They went their separate ways. And then times they came back together and worked again. So those conflicts can be resolved for sure. Relationship aspects are one of the unsung aspects, but one of the most major aspects in any kind of business dealing and in life, period. But in business, it can be so easy to get caught up in the operational side of things or the systems and the management side of things, and project management, that we forget about all the relational side of things that need to be happening, which can blur the lines sometimes between your professional and your personal decisions. But I like what John Maxwell says about, someone asked him one time, why don't you do a business, what did they say? Some sort of a business book, like business leadership book or something like that. And the way Maxwell put it was, if it applies to life, it applies to business. And I believe the same thing. And this is where Brilliant Fools operates from. It applies to our lives. Therefore, it applies to our businesses as we seek to have godly businesses, essentially, to run God-honoring businesses, people-honoring businesses. So hopefully that helps a little bit this week. for the Q&A this week. And if you have any questions, be sure to let them or send them to me, put them in comments, whatever that is. I look for those things all the time. Leave a comment. Just let me know how this is for you, how it's working, how it's not working. That helps me to know, should I continue on the same route or should I switch things up a little bit? I don't see me not teaching, training, not passing on knowledge that God has given me. But let me know if this format works well or doesn't work well. And until I know, I'll talk to you the next time. Thanks.